our recognition and homecoming. God bless you.
Ambazonians pledge our loyalty. Praises to our Savior who granted us the freedom. Allegiance to the hero who bore the lonely diablo. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Hearing our nation flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father, for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
Of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia by friendly countries and, of course, the international communities. In his speech, he emphasized about creating credible systems. And one of those credible systems that the interim government have started to create or establish is an independent bureau in the office of the president in charge of planning, performance monitoring, and evaluation. This bureau will assist the interim government in both short-term, medium-term, and long-term planning. It's, of course, all the dream we aspire for this new nation will be coordinated in the future through a national planning commission where members of civil society, members of all professional walks of life will be given the opportunity to make a contribution. Mr. President focused extensively on the need to use the economy to drive the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. He indicated that there are three pillars on which the complete restoration of our statehood lies on. The first being, of course, the rich human capital of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. The second being, of course, the rich natural resources. And of course, the third being the resolve of its people to ensure that we all get to Buea and get to Buea very, very soon. You remember that the interim government is for the period 2018-2019, and therefore, collectively, the interim government must have failed if the dream to be in Buea is not achieved within that period, or even sooner within that period. Therefore, as we look on the opportunities that is in front of the Ambazonia people, you will accept with me that the central location of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia between the ECOWAS region and the CEMAC region presents a wonderful geographic opportunity for these darling nations of ours. Of course, these darling nations have abundant, unexploited agricultural resources that will boost the food production industry. We have untapped oil and gas potentials, including millions of barrels of reserve of fossil fuels in the Rio de Rio, Mamfe, and Bakassi Peninsula. We have, of course, unexploited hospitality and tourism potential as Federal Republic of Ambazonia. There is high demand for low-cost housing. Therefore, the construction industry in the next 5 years, as indicated by Mr. President, will blossom. These opportunities are on end. Untapped mining, mineral potentials, renewable energy, information and communication technology. Mr. President mentioned of the Silicon Mountain in Boy, the rich human capital potential. All of this provides an exciting opportunity for all the people of Ambazonia to build a brand new country. Mr. President mentioned about human capital being a central pillar to ensure greater prosperity. Mr. President mentioned that through the stable and sustainable economic development, other social facets within the Federal Republic of Ambazonia will be catered for, such as the creation of an equitable, healthy, and sustainable communities, such as the strengthening of infrastructure development that will in turn support economic growth, such as, of course, the building of an industrialized and inclusive economy. We can only imagine an Amazonia in 5 or 10 years' time, post-complete restoration. If we want to zoom on each of those aspects, for example, the government of Ambazonia hope to develop and implement an Ambazonia human capital development strategy that will clearly map the type of capacity required in terms of professional skills of its people, in terms of the artisan skills of its people, where all the roadside mechanics will be grouped together to form big automobile giants that maintains our vehicles, where all the roadside electricians will be formed into cooperatives or other form of local economic development units to maximize the potential that this great country have in terms of its human capital. Of course, the quality of education at basic education level, university level, but also skills development will be a very fundamental part, underpinned by technology. Africa should wait and see a Singapore of Africa in the making. Of course, you want to ensure that your market efficiency in terms of the match between trained people and the demands of the market is maintained. A study of 2015 indicated in our legacy country of more than 15,000 people that graduated in 1 year, you will not boast 500 people in gainful employment. The Federal Republic of Ambazonia wants to ensure a careful match between the needs of the market and, of course, the competency level that is developed by the educational system. This is the dream we have. The question I want to ask you, are you part of that dream? If you're not, you need to really rethink and ask yourself, in the face of injustice, do you support the oppressor or the oppressed? One aspect that the president mentioned was with strong economic development, which will be achieved through probably the construction of an industrialized, inclusive, resilient economy that will increase greater prosperity. There will be huge consideration in terms of transforming the service sector, insurance sector, professional service, accountants, engineers, architects, and what have you. The space will be there for each of this sector to blossom. Of course, the adoption of sustainable production and consumption concept in itself will provide lots of opportunities. Transformation of the construction industry. I see my brother Mark Berata has joined me. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was just providing some baseline in terms of capturing on the economic proposals in the president's speech. So maybe I'll give you a moment to just give in high-level summary your appreciation. I know as a build-up to this speech, you had indicated that the people are anxious and they look forward to the president to speak about self-defense. They look forward to the president to speak about social issues, health-related issues, and of course, community mobilization and other issues. How did you appreciate the president's speech?
I think that the president he almost every part what people expected. He went into some Spain attributes to the forebearers of the struggle, those who came before the Dodges, the phones, the national, the churches, and the current leaders. I think he spoke. I think I'm impressed of what he said, social issues, and he focused on ensuring that once we get independence, economic empowerment of Amazonia, we reassured us that one of the reasons that the UN had independence during the one was that we're not economically viable. And so then I think he that the IG is building guidelines, building guidelines that will help to show the world that we are very much economically viable and we are more ready for independence. We talk about human capital. We have the human capital. We have the natural resource. And so we have political capabilities. These are the three things the president said that we are ready for independence. And the highlight, of course, he mentioned the refugee camp, the government of the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and those governors are hosting the refugees. The highlight, according to me, was the fact that 2018 is a year for recognition. Means in 2018 we should be having recognition from the various states, and it will be the time that will finally come home to Ambassador. This embodies the vision of the IG, which is the vision of the IG is to get Amba recognition. And though the president was silent when it comes to the issue of he is ready, to support youths who are already making sure that they defend their various counties. Defense is the right of Ambazonians. So I think the president's speech was was powerful. It was powerful, and it speaks directly to what we actually wanted. And finally, get to the question of school. By everything on the floor, there is no way we can resume school except those conditions that are being fulfilled before we can go back. So I think the president is on point. Is on point. We will now usher into 20 but action ensuring that finally we enter the year of recognition and we will march home to Boya one spirit.
Thanks very much. I think the president also spent quite a lot of time on unity, and he mentioned that most often than not, our friendly nations and partners ask the question, do we think we can run a sustainable country? From your perspective, how do you think presenting a united front will assist alleviate that fear within the international community of not giving room for the complete restoration of statehood of Ambazonia, which might become a crisis zone within ECOWAS and CEMAC region? The importance of unity as we approach the year of restoration in 2018.
Yes, I was impressed the fact that the president began his speech by paying tribute to the old generational leaders, mentioned Jinkas and the rest. He paid tribute to the nationalists, Yabas, Bolabet, this is a pointer to the fact that the president is open to the watchdog unity is a place. He mentioned he talked about the fact that behind the scenes, so many questions have come, especially when it concerns the economy. How can we sustain ourselves? He particularly mentioned and addressed the fears of our stakeholders and partners who want to partner with us. But I think the president is aware of the high stakes. He knows very well that unity of focus was everyone to come give investors, not give stakeholders, not to give international partners that fear, that fear, but confident that if we listen, if we took note of the speech of the Colonial President Obia, we will tell ourselves that coming together now, the very necessary, because President Obia exactly what any dictator would have done. So we have no choice than to come together to face that monster.
Thanks very much, Comrade Mike. You will accept with me that when the right time comes, there will be dialogue. The president indicated that the only dialogue that his government will be entertaining will be a dialogue for disengagement. And of course, he mentioned the fact that with La République painting this revolution as a social media revolution, he challenges them to say, come on world, United Nations, African Union have said address root causes. Therefore, call those organizations to run a referendum if you want to know the political majority that is aiming for the statehood of Ambazonia. What comfort do you think, given that he mentioned about possible fears with respect to electricity and all of those services, one will expect that when this disengagement discussions happens, on both sides there will be interest, and therefore those interests have to be negotiated. You do have La Republique business people who have investments in Ambazonia and vice versa, and therefore I do not see any possibility of any immediate cut of any essential service, because that would be to the disadvantage of La Republique, because they stand to lose more if they act in that way than to collaborate for a peaceful disengagement. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you see, this takes me back to the 90s. We recall that in the 90s there was a document known as the Buya Declaration, and that Buya, in that book, after the AC2 terms, in fact, the terms of peaceful separation was clearly spelled out. How we are going to share some common resources, but for the meantime, we become fully away. But I think what we are seeing now, like the president cautioned that if we are going to separate by the barrel of corn, then La Republique will not be a good neighbor to us. We are expecting to be good neighbors to La Republique, understanding that we have had some shade of history, but it is proving that La Republique wants the situation not to be peaceful, not to be peaceful, and wants it to be on the barrel of a gun. And based on that, of course, it will make life difficult for us in terms of water, in terms of electricity, in terms of other things that we have been spending on them. I was impressed when the president mentioned and he said there are extensive negotiations with major stakeholders in the world to step in after our independence. This means that the IG behind the scenes, they have contacted operations, they have contacted state governments, they have contacted other organizations who are ready to step in to offer these services to the people of Amazonia. So I think in that case, the president ambassadors that if it comes to the point where we have to separate by the barrel of the gun, if it comes to the point where we will be bad neighbors of a history, then our people should not be afraid, because there are corporations, there are stakeholders who will step in to ensure that how those be like this.
All right, I struggle to get you, Comrade Mark, but I think let's proceed on a different angle. The president mentioned one of the 7 steps, independent representative system of government. Now, what comfort do we think in creating a credible system of government, especially if we look at separation of powers in terms of the legislature, the judiciary, and executive? What are those pillars that you would like to see to ensure that things like what we experience happening, where a part that is supposedly in their narrative being one and indivisible is not even being considered to be discussed in Parliament? Is there separation of powers? And how do we as Ambazonia ensure that there will be absolute separation of powers, where the executive will be called by the legislative, which is the people, to account for their actions? And of course, justice for all through a fair judicial system.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I think we must, even though we are calling for separation of powers, we must us recognize the fact that behind our head, we are in a revolution. Let's recognize the fact that despite that we have a government that we want separation of powers, we are in a revolution. I don't have all those things together. But for the meantime, we have to put in place those structures which ensure that there is no power tussle, there is no too much of the power being on the hand of an individual. And the president began by saying of the Restoration Council. For me, like I said in the live show, the Restoration Council is the most important part now to act like a parliament where they can act as a check and balance the president's cabinet. So, and the president mentioned the council is going to establish representative coming from every part of the world, and that will be announced. So, in others, we are waiting to see how that council will be. We put that to have it so that they can adequately put the interim president, the president's cabinet. That we heard the cabinet members' position that will be to sharp up, knowing fully well that there are those who are watching every step, every actions that they are doing, and that will give Amazonians the confidence that at least, even though we are not yet in prayer, even though we are still in court in this virtual world, we will do still that. We will be admired by most in Africa. This is the hope that we have to ourselves, different from like you said, we saw in like parliament opposition MPs would not even be allowed to exist because they were in most cases in minority. Then we want to have that in our even if we have majority of the they should have some degree of autonomy that can challenge rightly and politically certain government actions for the cost efficiency and effective governance.
Thanks very much. If we come back to the issue of education, and I just want us to make our people understand the bigger picture of why they need to sacrifice, apart from trying to be in solidarity with our displaced people, especially for Manu and other parts of the country. I would like us to just look at the mismatch between the graduates and possible employment or job creation opportunities. In your imagination, what type of Ambazonia do you envision that will ensure possibly a proper match of skills and jobs, but also entrepreneurship opportunities that should give the people of Ambazonia comfort why they are sacrificing today?
Yes, I think that if we are sincere, if we look at the educational state now in both approaches, that every year graduates are being taught out. They are being taught out. What are they doing? They move ahead to write concourse. What we know in French, the concourse. They are looking ahead to leave the kind of ones. That's what some become the type of ambassador we want to build is that people who can graduate physics, people from the faculty of engineering, they can at least be staff, they can at least prepare want people in can do how to put with those resources. We have bad roads. We have people in the university that are able to produce butter and tell universities within years they are able to live and able to build good bridges. We have natural resources which can be turned into antidotes, you know. And so we have you understand, we have Amazonians should be university and able to work in Sudan. We have done the to build industry and factories that people can live in. So there is a lot we as Africans we can a new modern century. Not what we currently have now, because what we currently have now is just read, cram and pass. People just want to read, cram and pass. No, they invest in all those single subjects, all those things. Our programs are not being tailored. University and let's get something for our to start from the basic. Even someone can leave high school, someone can leave high school, can even be an entrepreneur and even be self-sustainable. So that's the type. I think the Indian government, they have too much brains. The curriculum has been developed from various sources, various countries. We as Amazonians, as parents, we have to persevere. We have to persevere so that at the end we should get a better education for our kids. It is very important. If we go back to the school now, begin to ask our question, then why then did we start this whole issue as back as 2016? And the president has given all technical reasons why school could not. And I should also emphasize and mention that it is not the people of Amazonia who are stopping schools from going on. It is the government of Obia. Because I think those conditions that they mentioned in their state, we're talking now of, okay, schools is also, and what next? I think our parents at home, it is challenging, it is painful, it is talking about benefit our children, our kids in the nearest future. I don't get you. You get me? I don't get you.
Who has never worked in her life is worth 3.7 billion US dollars. It baffles me when you get pictures and reports of people having a house in Yaoundé worth over 146 million US dollars. What do you think should be the systems to put in place to ensure that inequality is minimized and therefore the equal distribution of resources and benefits to all deserving people of Ambazonia? What type of systems do we envisage to minimize inequality and ensure equal distribution of opportunities?
Thanks. If I get it clearly, no, in the Republic, this culture of corruption, nobody checks anyone. Someone who is just is building a very big mansion somewhere. I think what we have to do in Amazonia is to set out credible structures, credible foundations, strong institutions, like President Obama said sometimes, and that Africa doesn't need strong men. We need strong institutions. People who go into government, able at the time of government, they should be able to clear the assets. They have to build where government not be a job, to not a big politician, big politician, the job. When we are doing part of government, you should have your own job that you are doing. You make sure that after you must have served your term in government, you have your job. So we must set in those positions of assets. You can tell that in the days of West, we never do this about the issue of also we happen in institutions before like and all that. So we need those things from the vice chancellor in the university who will be elected among the peers. That way corruption will be minimized. The vice chancellor will know that I can't go on doing which don't benefit them. Our donors as well, and it should be a text which salary pays out. Everyone should know how in a state of state or if you're talking about this governor of state is giving this amount. At the end of the day, you can be audited. Because also with state corporations, lesser tax, making the private sector more business friendly, because when the private sector is business friendly, they will separate the private sector from politics. That way, we know that business people they do that they can do their job without relying on politicians, without relying to bribe politicians. So it will rely on us to build those strong foundations to ensure we avoid just minimal. We know to completely have the person zero, it will be difficult, but we can have a very minimal, less significant erosion. And we have to come up with laws, strong laws, which is very strong against those who invest state funds, those who invest money, or those who don't carry a project. An example is sick on one person, the person will follow. That's the type of Amazonia want to be, but it would take the goodwill of us Amazonians to do this public. And the first thing that we want to do is have a strong system in place, strong governance system, strong institutions, limited political parties, very few political parties, very few who don't place with political parties. That alone brings a lot of corruption, capitalism, and
no, thanks very much. I agree with you that there's a need to create a credible and accountable systems, and that's the reason why some of us, which are new faces in this revolution, were caught off with the spirit exhibited by our people on the 22nd of September and on the 1st of October. Then you elect to say you need to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. One will want to see a credible supply chain management systems in terms of procurement that are open to public scrutiny. One will want to see an independent public protector who can then, based on complaints of the public, investigate any public officials in terms of their conduct, whether they serve the interests of the public or not. One will want to see an independent auditor general that do not report to government, but report directly to parliament, that audits the government business at local government level, in state government level, but also at federal government level. One will want to see the development of a good corporate governance code of conduct that will be used by both private sector and public sector entity. And that's the interest why we are here, to ensure that those systems should be in place as we walk to Boya, as we move to Boya, and to ensure that credible systems of accountability, credible performance monitoring and evaluation systems in such a way that all public government contracts of certain values will be available to the public online for the public to know when advertisements for tenders were made for the construction of a hospital or road or school. The public will know who are those who applied or tendered and how much was their quotations, what was their technical capability with respect to the specifications for those tenders. The public should know who won the tender and based on what criteria, what was their score against those who did not get the tender. And of course, the judicial system should be available for those who did not get the tender, should they feel not supported or being mistreated, they will then take it on. And those are the type of systems. I dream of a system, Mark, where every single graduate from Ambazonia who either creates their own business, get permanent employment in the private sector, or employed by government, is given a home. It might be a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, a duplex, a 3-bedroom house, depending on your income and family circumstances. I dream where government will subsidize about 30% of that home, and you pay through a mortgage 70%. You do not wait to own a home only when you are on retirement or when you die. I dream of this type of a situation where, upon paying that home, should you be caught wanting, then you lose any payment that you've made towards that house, even if you've paid for 15 years. That is the system that we want to create. That will then prevent people from putting their hands in the till. Where there is adequate public transport facilities for all. There is adequate, good health care facilities for all, not just for privileged few. There is adequate social care, psychological care, and I must be honest, that our people will get comfort. Every single individual that has been buried in mass grave will be exhumed. There will be DNA tests to match them to their families. They will be reburied with dignity. Those, of course, will be provided as evidence of the genocide. So all of those police people of La République, the bees, the gendarmes, you did touch those people, you've buried them. We will get DNA evidence and it will be proof that it's you. And when you be taken to court, La République and its government will not be there to protect you because you'll be sued as an individual. I do dream, as I indicated, Comrade Mark, of us building resettlement cities with adequate bulk infrastructure, with proper electricity supply, proper road networks, proper sanitation, proper sewer systems, where our people coming from diaspora are not subjected to 419 in terms of buying land or buying a property. Because there will be a proper deeds office for the registration, the seamless registration of property. And of course, government can negotiate with communities and get land, and probably, that is my dream, start an Ambazonia housing bond where people can then invest into their own country. Based on that investment, be allocated land, be allocated houses, which will be registered in their name. Of course, those dreams are endless. And that is why we're in this revolution. because we need a better quality of life for our people. The people of Ambazonia have suffered for so long, despite within the midst of plenty. Record shows that Ambazonia contributes in its legacy country over 60% of GDP. We can only imagine what 60% resources will be used for about 8 million to 10 million people in the next 10 to 15 years. That dream is endless. And I hope the people of Ambazonia will see that dream as you see it, as I see it. I would like us to just take a moment to say, how do you think our people should get involved?
Like I said, international port and land in Korea and Amanda. I want to pick a high train from Manfred and a rich boy. These are all things that we are out of the camp. And we have seen how these people, this sacrifice to build condition so I think for us to have that after hearing what the current president said, we have to get engaged at all levels. We have to now make sure we double our efforts. We do our efforts for every angle that we are having, whether you are a food soldier, or you are with diplomacy, or you are a council head, or you are in this group, or whatever thing we are doing, if you are a financial to make sure that we maneuver 2018 double a year of them coming and recognition. So we have to harmonize around this vision as we try to take off the war which has been declared on us in Amazonia. We are also at the same time putting our resources together to ensure that we get those recognition. I am confident. I am very confident that all what we dream of, we are going to have it in Amazonia. It will come when every one of us put in our own best, according to our means, according to our capabilities, putting the first Amazonia first above any strategies. That is how they are going to get their fast.
Thanks very much. You can see that, of course, there have to be a combination of a number of strategies. We've just talked about the ownership and the commitment of the people, the unity of the people, as demonstrated, of course, 22nd of September, 1st of October. We want to ignite that noble motive, which is bigger than any one of us. Of course, in that process, we also need to take ownership of our spaces, of our neighborhood, and exercise our international right of self-defense. In the build-up to September 22nd, in the build-up to October 1st, numerous write-ups were made to signal to the world about a possible genocide, which we now experience.
That's right.
All right, leading to the displacement of a lot of people.
Yes.
So of course, we are saying as Ambazonians, we need to find solutions for Ambazonia, and that solution have to be driven by Ambazonians. Therefore, what motivation do you think you will give to all the self-defense groups that are fighting to protect their parents from brutality, that are fighting to protect their sisters and mothers from rape, that are fighting to ensure that their houses are not burned down randomly. Can you motivate them?
I think those, when I look at them, I said, those of us that are away from ground zero, we are not away from ground zero. Every country, they are living experience in time. Most of us people, we can understand the way we are doing in different countries. Those on ground zero, they are doing the job. And I want to encourage them that what they are doing it for mother Ambassador. No one speak and see his father or mom being slaughtered. No one speak and imagine that mom who saw how her own son was shot from the back, trying to run away because the police they came with and they battered him, and with him trying to run away, they shot him. So imagine that show that mother can see. Imagine what that mother can this. So our food soldiers must understand that they have to protect their own against colonial officers. But this should be aware that people have seen sacrifices. At the end of the day, they become our heroes and I'm confident, I'm sure that the Indian government is taking note of all these people who are fighting, making sure that the security officers have a full air to breathe after the war was declared on other people. And we are also here to continue to support them all years to ensure that we provide them with all the necessary resources they need to stay alive. Because as they fight, being alive is the first safety measure that they have to take. And we are ready. I know that many people are ready by those resources that will ensure that this continue to motivate them in the ways that, and for Christians will continue to pray for them to ensure that the other side of the Mungu. As the president said, we are hopeful that at the end of it, we will be in the year of hope.
Thanks, Comrade Mike. I think we are all very hopeful, and we can't wait, I must be honest, to say at long pack my bag, I am already on the way, and I just need things to be cleared, and we will all be in Boya. One of the aspects the President mentioned is support from nations, or friendly nations and international community. Of course, that will lead to the recognition of the statehood of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. I would like us to just reflect a bit, to say we cannot just fold our arms and expect international community and friendly nations to support us as Ambazonians. If we look back sometime in September, October, there was a great support from a number of US senators, about 24 of them. What do we do as Ambazonians to grow that number to 50? The President mentioned about things or parliamentarians in the European parliaments from Germany that are pushing the case. So what is the responsibility of Ambazonians the world over to push the targeted diplomatic drive to ensure that recognition and to ensure that more pressure is put on La Republic in terms of the brutality that they exert on the people of Ambazonia?
Yes, we have ensured that even as we put our hope on defense, but we have to ensure that we targeted BBC to a team. I think the interim government will have to make sure we do a follow-up, especially a follow-up of those US military and congressmen and ladies who wrote. We have to do a follow-up to remind them what they want. It has transformed now into something else, so that they can open other doors that would tie the hands of the colonial president for likewise, the president mentioned that the German parliament. I watched him move very well. The president has informed us that angle is also being followed up early at the point of the EU parliament so as to get more partners, more sympathizers who maybe in their own way will put pressure on the respective governments to ensure that pressure is being put on the president on colonial president Paul Biya. But I think from the previous statements, we are made to understand that there are a lot of backdoor deals going around that for the purpose of secrecy, it can't come over to social media. So we are hoping that the Indian government will push up in this targeted diplomacy to ensure that at least we have 1, 2, 3, 4 states officially recognizing our statehood. But like I said, we took notice of the ambassadors that are appointed in specific countries, and we know that these are ambassadors that have been appointed. We do everything possible for their nation states that they recognize the Republic, so as those of us that we are private citizens, we only have to make sure we continue doing that support the Indian government, especially in the funding, so that these actions around with diplomatic as well as on self-defense not being stopped at one point. As we start from now, it should continue. Not get dry. Continue. That's our goal as private citizens, because if we don't provide the resources for the Indian government to function, it would before by its own sake, by its own sake. So, but I don't think everyone will be happy. So we have to ensure that targeted diplomacy is being deployed. We move ahead self-defense.
Thanks very much for those analyses. I will ask you to just reflect on your closing comments, which you have about 2-3 minutes to do just now. Of course, one will accept the fact that, and it's funny, to feel that your resources are being looted and your resources are being used to declare a war on you. What do people of Ambazonia do to raise funds? I know we have the spirit, but of course, the boys who are in the jungle, who have decided to lay their life in order to protect their mothers, their sisters from being raped, their grandparents from being eliminated, their culture from being eliminated. And this has happened systematically over many years. What motivation will you give the people, especially those in the diaspora, to dig deep and support with every single dollar that they might have?
I think those of us in the diaspora we know very well that we have to explain. So I think one of our biggest motivations should be that I want to go home. Those of us we still have families back, brothers, sisters, cousins, and who is home. No matter how many live in Americas, Canada, and South Africa, Nigeria, there is something very special about home. Where I feel confident. So, if we as diaspora, if we really want to go, then we have all the reasons to dip our hands, dip into our pockets, and make sure that we get this mission going. How to avoid narrow struggle, because we are it is a revolution. So the only motivation for the is that you want to go home. You want to go home. How do you want to go home? By making sure you support this revolution to a logical end. Because now all of us can go home. They are in Kuala. They are being sent back. We saw 6 Ghanaians who is a Cameroonese. Just the fact that he was acting on Facebook, supporting this cause. He was arrested and this regime of Popia, they don't care. They don't care whether they are a Cameroonese or you are a Cameroonian. All you support the anger cause you are being in another corner. And the regime, the outputs of they are supposed to spend time on live shows, on protests, no. As diasporans, if you want to go home, they have to put all the cards on the table, continue to support the revolution, all means available, so that finally, if not, then I'm afraid you might stay out here for the next 5 years. God knows that is not our portion. This year, 2018, will be our year of final breakthrough.
Thanks very much. Of course, for all Ambazonians, if you log on to ambazoniagov.org, you will find details of the Global Ambazonia Freedom Fund that was launched by the Secretary for Economy and Finance. And it's very critical that, as President mentioned, over 40,000 people has been displaced, some of whom are in Nigeria, some of whom are sick, some of whom are pregnant. And while we are now in the dawn of New Year 2018, how do these people survive? Comrade Mark, what message do you have for the displaced people and the refugees in Nigeria?
They should be hopeful, because the support that I'm seeing from the diaspora towards those in Nigeria, it gives me hope that we are not forgetting about those in Nigeria. But talking with some comrades back home, I try to find out the morale, those camps, and I'm proud to the morale in those camps is very high. People, they are hopeful, they are sad that they are away from their land, but they know that because that they are prepared to sacrifice, and they are very big to away from their houses. Their families have been placed in this camp. The other somewhere, they now meet, they sleep in one room, about 50 of them, 60, 70, so which is really heartbreaking, but they cause that to carry to Amazonian state. So our parents in Nigeria who might be watching this show, they are saying that they shouldn't give up. That morale, that spirit which is really ready amongst them, they should keep going. We as diasporans that also, in fact, the fellow like they're also by default refugees. So our status is different. That we will continue to fight that necessary support. At least they have the basic. And I'm glad because what I see, many communities, the interim government groups, they have been responding positively to the refugees in Nigeria. So that alone will give them hope that they are in Nigeria, but they are not alone. That the diaspora is behind them, strong.
Thank you very much. Can I give you just 30 seconds for your final word to the people of Ambazonia with respect to the president's speech?
Yes. Yes, I want to call on the people of Ambazonia that the president has spoken. He has given us the blue previous year, and he has given us the way forward on which direction that his cabinet is taking this resolution to. And we have to call on the people of Ambazonia, the various defense groups, the various social various food that it's time for us to keep 2017 was, and so we should pass it on to be born again, different, so that we can get together, we share our resources, share our we share our knowledge to ensure that finally don't be out of Southern Cameroon's Amazonia. Thank you, fellow Africans. We will keep the spirit up and wish everyone a very, very, merry and prosperous new year, which is in the next few months.
Thank you very much, Comrade Mike, and ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ambazonians, the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, His Excellency Ayok Tabe, has declared 2018 a year of the restoration of the statehood of Ambazonia. We look forward to the creation of a credible, efficient, performance-driven government, a government that will be characterized by accountability, transparency, integrity, excellence, and professionalism. A government that will ensure quality of life to all its citizens. And I see a quality of life being a life of opportunity, the opportunity of steady productive employment and financial independence, the opportunity to own a home and retire in security, the opportunity to enjoy a clean and healthy environment, the right to peace, freedom, and liberty, the opportunity for us collectively to take our future in our own hands and to shape it the way we want. That is our dream for Ambazonia. Thank you very much, and compliments of the new year 2018, the year of the restoration of the statehood of Ambazonia as declared by our president. Thank you very much.